Okay, hi everybody. It's Helen here, and once again, I'm here with my beautiful friend Kath. Hi, Kath.
Hi.
Oh gosh! And here on this beautiful Thursday, I realised earlier today that this is the seventh podcast we've done, isn't it, Kath?
It is. Yeah, we're up to number 7, I
Yep.
think. Yeah.
And yeah, and I realised that I've called it "Love Will Do Whatever It Takes" because that's what I was calling the book. But I just ran that past Kath, and I don't think both of us can't recall that I explained why I was calling the book that.
No, I don't think we did. I
Mm.
mean, we know because we've been doing the deep dive, but
Yeah,
it's helpful to explain to everybody else.
you bet. You bet. So sorry, everybody. It's taken us 7 weeks to figure out to do this. So, and it's important because the title of the book's about to change, but I'll get into that in a minute as well. So the significant thing about calling it "Love Will Do Whatever It Takes" is that through all the cycles and the patterns in my life, I found that there was always something else at work. So part of what I go into with the book is times when something heard me. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on in terms of um, you know it wasn't certainly somebody in the room. It was just significant times in my life where something heard me. I also write about a couple of significant times when something talked to me. It spoke out loud to me. There was no body, there was just a voice. Um, so that um, thing, that energy, whatever it is, I called love.
Well, I would also throw in there that it also, I think, intervened in your life too.
Yes, yes. And that'll be in the book as well, right?
Yeah, some really good stories about that actually. Just
What,
dangle that carrot
what,
there.
what's coming to mind for you? Intervened in what way? What?
Oh, like one of the, well, I don't know when it's going to be, but the first chapter that we wrote together. I don't necessarily want to give that story away, but how the cascade of effect, it's like when we talk about how when you're writing a fantasy novel or something, like a non-fiction, sorry, a fiction novel, things have to run in a logical order, but that's not reality. And so in reality, events and people respond and do actions and take actions that are just completely illogical. And there's no reason why they would do that particular thing. But it has this massive ripple effect and impact on someone else.
And I know what you're saying, and I think that we can share what that's about because, I mean, it's significant parts of my life. So what Kath I think is referring to is when I tried to kill myself.
Yeah.
And and a series of events happened after that that stopped that from happening. Is that what you were talking about?
Yep, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, so something intervened. You're absolutely right. So it wasn't about I just heard it or I knew it heard me, but there was significant times in my life where I was interacting with it in some way, and I called it love because every time it intervened or I interacted with it, something beautiful happened.
Yeah.
Whether it was me staying alive.
Very grateful that that happened.
Or it was always sort of trying to guide me in some way. So that's why I called it love.
Mm.
And I think over the years, especially as a therapist, as a practitioner, um, that's that was always kind of my goal with anybody was, you know, anybody that's feeling pain and heartache and pressure and overwhelm or whatever words you want to call it, they're just far away from love. That's how I always saw it. So my job was to help people find within themselves or on their own path, that redirection back to love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I called it love, because it's incredible. It's always there. We just get too far away from it sometimes, and that's when life doesn't quite work so well. So that's why I called it "Love Will Do Whatever It Takes." But now that I'm committed to writing this book, and it's going to happen in the next few weeks, that, you know, we're going to do the retreat, I'm renaming it. And, you know, this is another kind of title that was in the back of my mind. But now that I'm starting to put all the pieces together, it makes so much sense. I'm going to be calling it Life Didn't Come with Instructions.
Yep.
So I wrote some myself. And, you know, it all goes back to when I first started the spiritual path, right? And, you know, found a mentor and was learning all sorts of things. I bought a fridge magnet, and it said, life didn't come with instructions. And I stuck it up on my fridge, and my mentor was very unhappy about that.
Well, she was meant to be your instruction manual, right?
Well, it was more just you know how people can project energy at you and they can make you feel really uncomfortable, or they can make you feel wrong. And that's what she did when she said that. And I just thought it was funny. I bought it as a bit of a joke. Yeah. But I think it was so significant that it stuck with me all these years. And I figured out, for me, how life works. And I can't be alone in this, in that it only works this way for me, because I've shared all sorts of things that I've learned along the way, and they've worked for lots and lots of other people. So for me, I've got some instructions. I don't say I've got all of them, but I've certainly got some of them. And that's what the book's sharing is, you know, the cycles and patterns that I started to see in my life and how I started putting them all together. And what I was actually really doing was breaking old programs that no longer worked.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just encouraging people to actually have a look at life that way as well. What's not working in your life, start looking at it in a different way.
Can you just give an example for everyone on like what a program could be? Just a small example.
So, well, there's millions of programs. Let's start with this one. When I had my first child, and, you know, here I was sort of, gosh, I think he was probably about 12 months old or something. And, you know, I just started addressing his behavior in a certain way, and all I could hear was my dad. And I caught myself and went, ew, you know, I'm kind of talking to him the way my dad did. And was that right? No? I caught myself because something didn't feel right about that.
And could I just interrupt for a second? I know you're in the middle of it, because we were talking about this. We did talk about this program in a couple of other podcasts, but what you just said then was so significant about what did you think about that? How did that feel within you? Because I think too often we play out a program and we're just on that train track and we're riding that train track, but we're not stopping and questioning.
True.
And I think that's one of the biggest differences on why you've kind of started to see this, to be able to enable you to break the patterns, is the first one.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And, you know, I'm hoping that my book does that for people.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not here to define what that felt like, right? Because I was a stressed out mum with a million things going on in my mind. That's who I was back then. Did I feel? No, not much.
Good, bad, happy, sad.
You know? Yeah. Kath just made a quote that was one of my statements I made to my ex-husband at the time that we were getting married. I told him not to expect any emotional states from me other than good, bad, happy, sad. And that was pretty much my way of saying I'm shut down, I'm locked off, my heart is in here somewhere and nobody gets to it. Anyway, that was a side note. Thanks for that, Kath. So, yeah, I mean, there were certain events in my life that triggered me to think outside the square and to think about what was going on in my life and whether it was working or not working. But as I said before, I'm hoping this book and hearing some of these stories does that for others, that they start to stop and think about what's going on in their life and if it's working well for them or not. And if it's not working well, then I call them old programs. You know, and old programs are usually things that, you know, I was taught by my mum and dad to behave and to talk and to do things in a certain way. And I, you know, the more I questioned and challenged that, the more I realized that that was part of what I was here to stop, was repeating old patterns that didn't work well. Yeah. So, you know, I had to look at how I was behaving with my child and how I was talking to him and how I was treating him. And again, it didn't happen overnight, but that's what I'm talking about by programs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anything really, well, it can be habitual. I mean, and it's, I mean, there is a truth to it that we know when something's working and when something's not, whether we want to admit to ourselves that.
Of course we do. But, you know, there's another program that also makes us settle for mediocrity or just, you know, halfway.
I know the amount of time spent talking yourself into accepting crap.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Absolutely. Because, you know, I mean, it took me a lot of decades on this planet to actually realize that I had been so programmed to expect just this much in life, you know, which wasn't 100% or 200% or whatever, because that's what my mum and dad expected.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody around me expected.
Well, and then this is like the funniest thing. It's like your mind spends all this time convincing you, justifying this is my crap existence. And then you go and spout it to 50 other people around you who all go, yes, I totally hear what you're saying. That just reiterates the program and keeps you stuck in the muck.
They just repeat it back to you.
Yeah.
Because they're all doing it, because like attracts like. Like people attract like people.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's another podcast. Because there's a reason for that, you know, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, there is.
We get inspired when we see people that are living, you know, in a way that we would love to live, or, you know, doing things that we would love to do. That's inspiration. That's wonderful. Yeah. But, you know, there's also programs out there that tell us that only certain people can have that.
Yes.
Not everybody.
Heaven forbid we all live heaven on earth.
Yeah, heaven forbid. And listen to the word forbid. Oh my gosh, you know? Yes. Yes. So the name of the book has changed. It is now Life Didn't Come with Instructions, so I wrote some myself. Yep. Something to that effect, right? That's what it's going to be about, because, yeah, I've learned a lot about how life works, and I want to share it, because if it triggers something, inspires something, fabulous. Yeah. Fabulous, because I want people to start thinking about the life they're living. And I know the last few years has done that for many, many people. It's time to reevaluate and to evolve from what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, this is one of my favorite things, is one of your life lessons has been learning to not be attached to things. And part of that is, well, that was the name that it was for a while, and now this is the new one. Will this be the end result? We don't know yet.
Watch this space.
That's right, you know, but it is what it is going forward right now. You know?
Watch this space. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it.
All right. Well, I hope that inspires you all. I hope that it gets you asking questions about your own life, because all I know is, well, I know that as soon as you question something, that love that I call it, that energy, whatever it is, it responds. Something turns up when you ask questions. Answers start to turn up in all sorts of ways. So I hope it's inspired you, and I hope it gets you asking some questions. Thanks, Kath, for joining me again, for, you know, your input as well, because, you know, we both know that you see things your way, I see things my way. And it's great when we have these conversations. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.